Update: spouse is a groomsman, his ex a bridesmaid, but I'm not invited? Original post: Hey all, need some advice on how I should proceed. My husband is a groomsman to his childhood friend's wedding. The bride is best friends with my husband's ex, though he dumped her months before even meeting me, and the bride has obviously asked said ex to be a bridesmaid. I've only met the bride and groom a couple times in passing, and I've never met the ex. But thanks to mutual friends, I do know the ex was regularly creeping me online up until quite recently. So with all that being said, yesterday we received the formal invitation and is addressed only to my husband. I'm not mentioned anywhere. There's nothing about a+1. My husband, bless his heart, assumed it was an oversight and texted the groom to see if I was actually invited. And the groom responded along the lines of, "Oh, I guess it would be really awkward for X, but if she really wants to come, I guess she can." I personally have no interest going to the time and expense of attending a wedding where I'm clearly not welcome. And my husband has said he will just back out of the wedding. But it's only about 3 months away. And as offended as I am not sure this justifies my husband potentially ending an almost 2-decade-long friendship with the groom. I'm genuinely not sure how to proceed. Please help y'all. Now for the top comments. So that's not only rude because you are his wife, but also because as a groomsman, really he should get to invite someone regardless of relationship. I don't blame you for not wanting to go, but I would have a conversation with your husband about options. Do you want to just not go and let him go? Do you want him to have a more frank conversation with the groom about how it's quite disrespectful of your relationship to cut you out and make you feel unwelcome? I get there are complex relationship issues here, but it's a pretty stupid move of the groom to not invite his groomsman's wife. Or was this a steamroll decision by the bride? Sorry you're dealing with this, but it sounds like you're approaching it as level-headedly as possible, which is all you can do. I am assuming it's a bridal steamroll. I've only met her a couple times, but she seemed like the loud/bossy type, whereas the groom is very quiet and timid. And I'm trying to be level-headed about it, but I feel myself losing my cool the more I think about it. I would understand them doing this if I were some local home-wrecking hussy, but I'm not. My husband broke up with the ex, then moved to a new state, my state, and that's when and where we met. There was no overlap or shady behavior. I understand that breakups suck, and I think it's good a bride was in her friend's court, but it's been over 6 years since the breakup. It's time to move on. With all that being said, I think my husband is going to call the groom later in the week once this isn't so fresh, and see if they can talk it out. I agree with the commenter above. You're his wife and he is a groomsman. Husbands and wives should be invited together. It's rather silly for them not to be, as you two will likely be together for the rest of your lives. I will say though, you are taking this well and going about this very level-headed. I think I'd be a little more heated should my husband be asked to join a wedding party with his ex and then I also am not included whatsoever. Strange circumstances that sound like they involve rather petty people. I think I'm only holding it together because I don't know the bride and groom well. I would be much more upset if they were a couple I knew and cared about. I'm highly offended and very unimpressed by this couple and the way they conduct themselves. But more than anything, I'm upset at them doing this to my husband. My husband has been an extremely loyal friend to the groom for going on 20 years. So I think this is really hurting my husband. And if you hurt my husband, I'm coming for you. You and your husband are a social unit. You are not a +1. I can't believe this couple wants your husband to celebrate their new marriage while completely disrespecting your marriage. Especially since he's a groomsman. Exactly. This is beyond rude. You're not a girlfriend or a +1. You're a missus. There's no inviting one without the other. This is a huge disrespect not only to you, but to your husband and your marriage. I would be speaking with my husband to reconsider being in the wedding at this point. Now for the first update. Hey all, a bunch of people asked me to follow up once my husband spoke with the groom. So I'm just creating a new post rather than try to respond to everyone individually. Recap? My husband was asked to be a groomsman in an old friend's wedding. I've only met the bride and groom a couple times. My husband's ex is a bridesmaid. I've never met the ex. I was not invited due to it making the ex uncomfortable. Anyway, my husband called the groom up last night and the convo went as well as it could under the circumstances. My husband explained to the groom that we are a team, a social unit, and used what a lot of you guys said about the bride and groom asking him to celebrate their relationship as they disrespected ours, etc. The groom said he never intended to hurt or offend us, and hadn't thought through the situation well enough and realized how stupid and ignorant it was. Apologized profusely and said of course I was invited and they would love to have me. Their original reasoning, as told to my husband then repeated to me, is that the ex always thought my husband would move back home and get back together with her. So even though they were broken up well before the two of us met, she didn't fully believe their breakup was permanent until we got engaged. And it kind of feels like he chose me over her and never got closure. And she didn't want to be around a girl she lost to. And so, because the bride and groom live in the same small town as the ex and spent a lot of time with her, they thought it would be an easy way to keep the peace by just not having me come, and figured I wouldn't care to attend the wedding anyway since I barely know them. I believe the groom was genuinely clueless about the etiquette, and I believe his apology was sincere. I am not convinced the same is true of the bride, but I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. The solution we came to is this. We will both attend the church ceremony, him as a groomsman, me as a guest, so that he can stand up with his friend. Then we will both skip the reception to avoid any uncomfortable situations for anyone, and go have a romantic weekend to ourselves. The groom was disappointed my husband wouldn't be there for all the festivities, but was very understanding and apologetic, and is planning a trip out to see us after the honeymoon. As a petty woman myself, I approve of your plan. I'm happy to hear your husband stood up for you and your relationship to his friend, and that there was a somewhat happy ending. Haha, I'm glad someone understands the art of subtle pettiness. I just figure it's ideal for these types of run-ins to be planned. I once ran into one of my own exes right after I got out of the gym, and I'm not the kind of girl who goes to the gym in makeup and pink spandex. I looked a mess. So I'm glad I can at least look fabulous for this particular run-in. Already planning on a pale lavender silk A-line cocktail dress with accessories. It shows off my body but in a very sophisticated and classy way. So I will look amazing but won't give anyone a reason to gossip, lol. Yes! I was not surprised to hear that this couple/ex live in a small town, to be honest. I'm from a small town. Left when I was 18 though, and my husband's family is from a small town. And the drama is non-freaking stop. Even within their own family, which they somehow managed to spill into our wedding. But that's another story for another time, lol. I will never understand it, and it just makes the drama manufacturers look ridiculous to everyone else. Do you? Be fabulous, be gracious, and maybe even splurge a bit on a gift to the bride and groom for that extra kick. Good idea. I'm on the registry right now actually. I was thinking of doing 2 of the higher-end items they registered for, one from each of us. Leaning towards getting them the KitchenAid and a down comforter. I just want you to know that I went to bed last night, and as the total normal person that I am, thought to myself, I can't wait to find out if that one girl's husband's ex is about to be wildly disappointed. Ha ha ha, you're my spirit twin. That's awesome. And yeah, my husband is angry as he does not tolerate drama/immaturity like this. So if she's expecting some amazing reunion or storybook closure, she's gonna be really disappointed. He's just going to primarily ignore her. And if there's a situation where he can't tactfully do so, he's just going to act like he barely remembers her. Willing to bet that drives her insane. And I know she's probably hoping I seem better online than in real life, but she's going to be disappointed there too. I have a strong pageant background, so I know how to carry and present myself. Pageants also taught me how to dress my body type and do my hair/makeup to flatter me best. Also doesn't hurt that I am 5'10", size 2 with natural D cups. This is not to say that I think I'm so much better than her. My husband wouldn't have dated her in the first place if she were some evil troll. I just know how women are, and she's already revealed how insecure and petty she is. And I know how to work with that. So it's not that I'm so much better than her. I'm just making her think I am. Because I'm petty too. Just more skilled at a petty execution than she is. Lol. Now for the second update. Wow, totally forgot to update. My bad. It was really uneventful and drama-free, so no crazy stories. The groom called my husband less than 2 weeks before the wedding, more or less begging us to reconsider and come to the reception. We decided to just get over it, so hubby agreed to go to the reception and I stuck with my original plan to attend the ceremony only. Ceremony was nice and simple. Hubby escorted the groom's sister, not the ex. Yay! It looked like they overestimated attendance because there were a lot of empty seats. I would say a little less than a third empty. After the ceremony, I headed back to the hotel and relaxed in the hot tub and caught up on some reading. Hubby went with a bridal party to do photos, then went to the reception. He said the reception was pretty underwhelming. The food slash toast slash cake slash first dance etc. were all pretty rushed, and a good chunk of people left shortly after that. Hubby also left as soon as all the traditions were out of the way, so he doesn't know if it's picked up at all. He didn't say anything to the ex aside from a polite greeting, and the ex didn't try to approach him, so no drama there. It was pretty much just a typical, kinda boring wedding experience, and I'm not sure why the bride and groom were so worried it would be an issue. Now for the final update. Hey y'all! Just wanted to share the over 1 year update to my story since there is actually an update to share. This is going to be pretty long. Situation recap. My other posts provide more context. It was a really bizarre situation. Over a year ago, my husband's friend asked him to be a groomsman, and my husband's ex, best friend of the bride, was a bridesmaid. I was not invited, and when my husband asked why, the groom informed him it was because my presence would make the bridesmaid slash ex uncomfortable. My husband explained how offensive that was, and that he wasn't going to attend if they were going to disrespect our own marriage like that. The groom was genuinely apologetic, and we believe he just didn't realize how taboo it was. We were pretty confident it was all the bride and her bridesmaid, and the groom was just clueless and went along with it. But anyway, the groom backpedaled and said I should definitely come, and my husband and I ended up deciding that I would attend the ceremony then leave, and my husband would get the formalities out of the way, pictures, cake cutting at the reception, toasts, etc. Then we would connect and have our own romantic evening. Wedding recap. Nothing crazy happened. The ceremony itself was low-key. The bride and groom did a receiving line at the end, so I took the opportunity to be kind. I congratulated them and expressed well wishes and told the bride she looked lovely and then moved right along. My husband went with the rest of the bridal party to have pictures taken and said it was uneventful. He and the ex didn't really speak. They had exchanged greetings prior to the ceremony, and it was all fine. He said the reception was a bit disorganized. By the time the bridal party got there, most everybody had already eaten their buffet dinner, so they went right into first dances and toasts and such, and the bridal party just ate as they were able. By the time the cake was cut and passed out, many people were leaving, so my husband just ate some cake, said his goodbyes, and headed back to me. The ex didn't approach him, and neither the bride nor groom said anything about it. Now for this week's developments. So here is the most recent interesting stuff. Shortly after the wedding, my husband's relationship with the groom became stilted. The groom would take days/weeks to respond to texts, and when he did, it was like a one-word answer type situation. Wouldn't even attempt to connect when we were in the area, etc. It was pretty crappy, but my husband took the, oh well, I tried, his loss mentality. Fast forward to this week, like literally 3 days ago, groom calls my husband out of the blue, saying he is getting divorced. He didn't share every single detail, but apparently his soon-to-be ex-wife had been acting like a crazy person from the time they got engaged up to the wedding, and he just let it go thinking it was just some bridezilla crap that would go away after the wedding. But she actually got worse after the wedding, was super manipulative and controlling to the point that she was dictating who he could and could not spend time with. So he filed for divorce, and actually seems happy and at peace with his decision. He and my husband have been talking a lot the last couple of days, and it seems like they're going to be able to be close friends again. From what the groom, ex-groom now I guess, has told us, it seems like the wedding drama was primarily the bride and the ex-girlfriend was just egging it on, rather than the other way around, which is what I had originally thought. But regardless, I am happy this poor guy's getting out of a relationship that was toxic at best, abusive at worst. And I am very happy that my husband has his friend back. The end. Oh, I remember reading your original post, so I totally appreciate the update. Glad there wasn't any drama at the wedding, and glad the ex-groom is doing what is best for him. Emotional abuse is no joke. No kidding. I feel really bad for the guy, but glad you reached back out. My husband will move heaven and earth to make sure his friend is okay. You handled the whole thing a lot better than I would have. I was really angry at your husband's friend reading through, so I am glad you shared about his situation. I have been in an emotionally abusive/manipulative relationship before, and it's really messed with the way I thought and interacted with others. Glad he is getting out of that and fixing relationships. Same. It casts a whole new light on the situation now that we know what was going on behind the scenes. But at least he was able to get out of that situation. Lots of people get trapped their whole lives. It's a good reminder to stay in touch to the extent you can when friends get into relationships with controlling, difficult people. Even minimal contacts can provide a lifeline and critical support when that person finally gets the courage to leave. Am I the a-hole for encouraging my mom not to take care of my dad's affair child if she did not want to? My dad cheated on my mom for years. During his affair, he let me down many times too. He'd plan stuff with me, and if his affair partner was in town or available, he dropped me without a word. So when the truth came out, I was mad as hell with him. My younger sister was more forgiving though, and continued to have a relationship with him. The affair was revealed because the mistress was pregnant, but she lost that baby. They ended up getting married, and 2 years ago had a child together whom I never met. A few months ago, they both died in a car crash that claimed 5 people's lives. A social worker contacted me and my sister to see if one of us would take her in. We were left until last because they wanted other bio-relatives first, but none of them wanted her. My sister asked if we could raise her together. I said I was not getting involved and told the social worker I would not raise her. My sister, who is only 19, stepped up, but there were some things that needed to happen first. She dropped out of her college classes. She was working during the day and going to college at night. And she needed to move into a 2-bedroom place instead of the 1-bedroom she was in. She also needed to get some background check done. But she passed. She has the child. And now she's having a hard time with childcare. She knew I wouldn't say yes, so she asked our mom. Begged our mom. She told mom if she loves her, she'll help her. And that she'll start opening her heart up to her little sister who is part of her girls, even if she hates our dad still. My sister laid on a guilt trip to her. Mom said she needed to think, so she called me, told me she didn't want to do it, that she hates the thought of having that child in her home and caring for her. But she knows it will ruin her relationship with my sister if she doesn't. I told her she shouldn't do it, that not only she would not be a good fit for one, but she would also be miserable. And while my sister might not hate her, she could end up resenting them both. She agreed with me and told my sister she would not watch the child. My sister called and asked if I had anything to do with it. I played dumb and said I didn't know what she meant. She said she knew that was a lie because mom was so close to doing the right thing, and suddenly she's firmly no. She called me the C-word, a witch, said I was heartless, that one day she'll tell our little sister everything and will make me face up to my rejection of her and my lack of care for her. I told her I owed the child nothing, and I would not apologize for telling mom to do what she wants. My sister then said I was cold-hearted and cruel, and I don't seem to care about her either. I told her I cannot pretend to care about the child dad created with his affair partner, and that she would rather me stay away. She said it didn't mean I needed to push mom to refuse to help her either, that I was still an ass for that. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And honestly, I am surprised CPS gave your sister custody considering she is 19, basically a kid herself. Not blaming your mother in the slightest for not wanting to do anything with the affair child of her ex-husband. Your sister is the one to blame for taking on a kid she wasn't financially ready for. I think they just did everything to keep her with a blood relative. Plus, my sister was willing to fight to take her. If your sister was willing to fight to take her, then she should have been prepared financially and had a proper education to fund having a child. She felt morally obligated to take in your late father's child. Maybe this is her way of still being with her dad? It might be selfish of her to do that, but I don't know. All I know is she took on the responsibility and is now asking your mother for help who did not sign up for this at all. Not the a-hole. You and your mother made a decision that you would not care for the child. Your sister is angry because she assumed that she'd be able to get someone to help her, but she can't. I don't envy her position at all. She's essentially a single mom at 19. And I feel bad for the kid, who needs stability and safety and unconditional love. But she doesn't get to decide right from wrong for you and your mother. And she certainly doesn't get to manipulate your mother into caring for the living representation of your father's betrayal. It's honestly in the kid's best interest that you and your mom don't care for her. Kids are perceptive. They know when they aren't liked or wanted, and she absolutely doesn't need that right now. Anyone who plays the "if you love me you'd" card is almost always a shameless manipulator, and therefore the a-hole. I think my sister assumed we'd change mom's mind once she had taken the child on, or maybe that mom would be willing to help her out fully. She thinks I was wrong for saying no already. This is all making her angrier because she claims she's our family. I know she's always had a relationship with a child, but I have never even met her, and I don't plan on that changing. I know my sister doesn't like that, but staying away is the right thing. Because, like you said, kids know when they're not wanted. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not being an active grandparent? I, male 47, have a son Jake, male 26, who has his own son Mike, male 5. Jake's mother and I only had a short-term relationship, and it was an accidental pregnancy. To be blunt, I never wanted to be a parent, particularly not at 21. However, Jake's mother did, and it wasn't my decision. Although we have always kept the peace, things have always been icy between us due to that. However, I always tried to do right by Jake. I would have him over other weekend and for a month during the summer. Would do my best to deliver on anything he asked of me. Treated him kindly and tried to be a good father. Then, at a certain point, his mother married a guy Jake hated, and I had him move in with me once he was 13. I won't lie, I wasn't cut out to be a parent. I love Jake, but I just hated parenting. I did it anyway since he was my son. We have a very good relationship, and I've never shirked any responsibility to him. Jake also became a father at 21. However, he was all for it and is happily married to Mike's mother. I also got him into my electrician's union and had him set up on some good jobs. So, he was on much better footing than I was for a child. Back then, we had a long talk, and I told him, Jake, being a parent is a very different life. It is hard, exhausting, and on a day-to-day basis. You don't really get to do what you want to do very much. It will be a very long time before you don't have that kind of responsibility anymore. Then, the conversation turned to how I'd help him. I told him no, I am retiring from parenting. I am turning back to my own life. He has his own home, union job, is engaged, and adult enough to decide to have a baby. He's the adult now. He's the parent. I'll be around, and if there are any emergencies, obviously I'll do what I can. But I won't be an active grandparent. I've largely held to it. I have been doing a lot of travel, I have a girlfriend, hobbies, and to be blunt, I'm doing all the things I didn't get to do in my 20s. Do I see Jake and his family? Yes. However, I rarely agree to babysit. Jake resents that I don't go to Mike's games because they tend to conflict with my weightlifting club, and that I'm pretty hands-off with Mike. Things came to a head last week when Mike had a baseball tournament and I refused to go because I had plans to take scuba class with my girlfriend, which admittedly could be rescheduled. I didn't tell Jake this, but I spent so many Saturdays bored out of my skull watching Little League when Jake was little. I always cheered loudly, was crazy supportive, and never let on that it was like watching paint dry. But this is no longer my responsibility. So I told him, Jake, I spent 20 years parenting. That's enough. He then yelled at me that I am always jetting around playing like a teenager and not putting him first. I told him that no, I wasn't. I did that for 20 years to get him on his feet as an adult. I've done that and can go back to prioritizing my own life. What I am reading from this is that you knew you were not cut out to be a parent. You feel you have done your duty and are now determined to do everything you feel you missed out on. You can do whatever you like, and whether you are the a-hole or not, your actions will have consequences. But only time will tell if you find you regret your actions or not. Indeed, you read it right. I have also considered exactly what you suggest in your last line. Thought very hard about it, in fact. I am far more likely to regret never getting to live my own life if I were to give that up again. You might not be the a-hole, but you're ruining your relationship with your son by essentially saying, I don't care about being actively involved in your life. I've already done the bare minimum expected of me and I won't do more. Do you want him to go no contact with you? Because that's the direction this is heading in. Maybe this will make me the a-hole, but if that's the price, okay. I've spent 20 years putting Jake first and not really having much of a life. I didn't get on a plane to Thailand and change my name. I didn't tell his mom I don't want to be a father, so if you have a baby, I'll pay child support but leave me alone. I was a very active parent. Jake was raised into a fully functional adult with a stable, steady job, his own home, and his own wife and baby. I did it because I fathered a child. He couldn't take care of himself, and it was my responsibility. Jake is fully able to take care of himself and Mike, as is Mike's mother.
If I need to give up the next 20 years and be daddy again, no. I'll only do it once. This time, I'm proverbially getting on the plane to Thailand. The price is too high. I've done my duty and hung up my parent hat. At this point, yes, I am done. I've signed up for and took responsibility for Jake. Jake chose to have Mike, well and good, but now he's the parent, not me. Although every disagreement on the internet always has going no contact as literally the first port of call, real life isn't like that. But because it seems that is what everyone wants to talk about, if let's say that were really what it came down to, so be it. I'd wish him and his family well. But whether it makes me the a-hole or not, I've taken my life back, and I'm not going to put it to the side again. If the choices are I walk off into the sunset or I have to be a daddy again, I'm walking off into the sunset. Nobody has threatened such a thing, nor is anyone talking about it. But this, being the internet, it is the go-to that everyone says immediately. I hope things don't go that way. I don't want them to go that way. But if those are the terms, that will be my choice. Next story. Am I the a-hole for crying, causing a wedding to be called off? I'm 31, female. I have a friend named Anna, 35, female, and Alex, 33, male, has a 7-year-old daughter named Frankie who has a severe peanut allergy. Alex is very protective of Frankie and takes great precautions to ensure her safety. One day, Anna and I decided to go to a restaurant and we informed Alex beforehand. He explicitly told us to make sure that there were no peanuts in the food. Unfortunately, in the midst of ordering our meals, I completely forgot about Frankie's allergy, and she ended up eating something with peanuts in it. This resulted in Frankie having a severe allergic reaction and requiring immediate medical attention. Upon learning about the incident, Alex understandably became angry and upset. He directed his frustration towards me and Anna, stating that we should have asked about the presence of peanuts in the food. Furthermore, he expressed that he no longer wanted me around Frankie if we couldn't be more responsible. I busted out in tears. This argument escalated, leading to a major fight between Anna and Alex and ultimately causing their wedding to be called off. Now both friends and family are placing the blame on me, stating that Anna and I should have been more cautious and that I ruined the wedding because I'm an idiot who doesn't listen. Info. Were you the only one ordering? Could Anna have identified that there was peanut in the food? Why did the argument escalate? Why did you not simply agree you had been irresponsible and agreed to not be around Frankie? Anna told me it escalated because I was the one who ordered the food, because Anna had to relieve herself and she was in the bathroom when I ordered it. And Alex said he doesn't want me around because he reminded us in the car before we went in the restaurant to check for peanuts. How long was it between this reminder and ordering that you managed to forget something so important? I'm guessing it was minutes, not hours, which makes your failure exponentially worse. Do you usually forget things so quickly? If so, you need to talk to your doctor about these lapses, since a little girl could have died because you have holes in your memory. You're the a-hole. I love how you purposely left out that you are the only adult at a table at a time of ordering. You are 31. If you think you can shake off any responsibility with "I just forget" and "I'm not good at listening," you might need to be accompanied by an adult to navigate daily tasks. You're the a-hole. You could have killed that child. Hope he also left out the fact that the dish was Kung Pao chicken. So literally a peanut chicken dish after having been told right before on the phone to not forget about the peanut allergy. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister's friend I'm married after being widowed for 20 plus years? I lost my wife, Lana, 20 years ago after the birth of our son. Lana and I were childhood sweethearts who saw ourselves growing old together. She was my everything, but during her pregnancy they discovered she had cancer. And because she was already terminal, she dedicated the final months of her life to giving birth to a healthy son and making sure he and I would be okay. She died hours after he was born. The pregnancy, as well as the delivery, C-section, weakened her significantly, only living long enough to get one photo with him. It was such a painful time, and I always knew I would consider myself married until I pass away as well. This was difficult for my family to understand. I was 26. They felt I was young enough to bounce back fast and remarry and continue life with a new family and new love. But that never held any interest for me. I've never taken off my wedding ring. I've been asked out over the years and I always say no. and if pushed, that I am married, and people rarely ask questions. Over the years, my family have introduced me to women who they think could be the one to change my mind. It is something we have disagreed over. They even asked my son if he wouldn't like a new mommy when he was little, and it resulted in no contact for a while. They eventually apologized. My sister and her husband celebrated 30 years of marriage last month, and they threw a party with family and friends. My sister invited a friend of hers along who I have never met. She started talking to me during the party and mentioned that my sister said we would be perfect for each other and how she was excited for us to spend some time together after the party. I asked her what she meant by that, and she said we were going out to dinner, just the two of us, right after. I told her I never agreed to that, and that I told her I was married. She got the idea that I was divorced, and I told her that my wife had passed away many years ago, but I considered myself still married. She was shocked, and afterward my sister was angry at me. She told me I had made her out to be a liar, and her friend was hurt that she tried to set her up with someone who was so hung up on someone else. I told her I had made it perfectly clear I would not be dating, that she was the one who gave her friend the impression I wanted to date. She told me telling people I'm married when I'm not anymore is wrong, that it pushes people away and gives them the wrong idea. I left early because she was not willing to let it go. Afterward, my brother-in-law said my sister meant well and that I have to understand where the concern comes from, because even though I found my own happiness, it's not the way my family wanted me to, and they worry even more now that my son's in college. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm a widow. It's only been 4 years. My mom was widowed twice. My first dad died while she was pregnant with me. My mom told me that we stay married in our heart, soul, and mind, and I've found that no one understands that, but I do. You are not the a-hole all the way. It's nobody's business how long it has been. You are married, period. If no one understands, too bad for them. Time is relative. 4 years later, it feels like I just found his body again and again. Take care. I'm terribly, terribly sorry. Your wife must have been as amazing as you. Be strong. It's the most terrible pain, incomprehensible pain. I'm so sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. Good for you. Other people should concentrate on their own lives. Even though I found my own happiness, it's not the way my family wanted me to. So what? You're happy. I am happy for you. Why can't they be? I don't think my family believes in happiness outside of marriage and having a family with your spouse. They think anyone who doesn't want that again is somehow incapable of being truly happy. They're also not very good at listening. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my ex-wife's kids I raised for 9 years when I found out they had been lying to me? I, 41 male, was married to my ex-wife, 38 female, for 2 years before we split up. She has 5 kids that I had been helping her raise for almost 9 years, as we had an on and off relationship before we got married. The kids are 22 female, 19 male, 17 male, 11 male, and 9 female. I have always had a great relationship with all the kids and treated them like my own. Their dads weren't really in the picture, and I was the man that stepped up to be there for them all. My ex and I would still spend time together and see each other after our initial split, as we were trying to work things out. During this time, she would date other men and have them in the home with the kids. I worked out of state and would talk to her and the kids regularly like a husband and father would, and would spend my days off with them all. Well, the line came into play when I found out on accident that the dad of 3 of the kids had gotten out of jail and was spending time with my wife and kids behind my back because no one wanted me to find out because he told them not to tell me. I was then informed that they had been covering for their mom's indiscretions the whole time I've known them. Full specifics: as I would come down from my work on my time off, the kids would all hide whatever man their mom was seeing at a time and tell the little ones to not say anything to me. That if I had found out what they were doing, I would have stopped paying all the bills and taking care of all of them. When I was told all of these things, I realized that I was just an ADM, and them and their mom never really cared about me. So I cut all contact with the entire family. I decided my feelings and my mental health was more important than constantly caring for people that don't care about me or how I felt about what was being done to me. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. You were a stand-up guy to them, and they treated you poorly. End of story. Good luck to you. Not the a-hole or the ATM. Let's give them props for the teamwork though. awful, but impressive they made it that long without spilling the beans. Even the kids betrayed you. Damn, son, that's rough. I'm sorry you went through that. Not the a-hole. A grifter raising little grifters. Glad you're out, Opie. Unfortunately, the only not the a-hole ones here are the two youngest, who have only known Opie as a father. You cannot blame young kids for doing what their mother tells them. The mom is horrible in so many levels. According to Opie, it has been going for 9 years, meaning even the oldest were young kids when dealing with us. None of the kids, from the youngest to the oldest, should be looked at fault here. The mother should. Those kids knew exactly what would happen and tried their best to keep the family together the best way they know how. And this isn't even getting into what the mom may have told them to do. Add now confusing emotions of a deadbeat dad now popping up in the picture. They're just as much victims. Not the a-hole. Dating a single mom is fine. Dating a single mom with 5 kids from different fathers, at least one of which is in jail, might not be the best idea. Mom seemingly has a lifelong history of poor choices, it sounds like, having a kid at 16. I'd assume the 3 oldest are with a man in jail, and the 2 youngest are with a different man? Manipulating her kids into lying for her to cover for her affairs? They were together 9 years, but she has a 9-year-old with someone else? The whole situation is one messy red flag. The only sane decision of this whole crap show was him leaving this chaotic mess. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling people why my girlfriend and I broke up? My ex and I had been dating for over 2 years when she cheated on me at a Halloween party. She called me a few days afterwards to tell me she cheated. She claimed she felt bad about it as to why she was telling me, and claimed she felt like our relationship was over as to why she let it happen. I was super busy with work trying to make enough to get a place for both of us. I broke up with her and hung up. Then I updated my Facebook to say I was single again, and a couple of my friends asked me why on the update. I responded with, she cheated on me at a party. Well, roughly 7 hours later, my ex's friends and sister are blowing up my Facebook and phone, threatening me and calling me an a-hole for bringing strangers into our business. To which I feel that if she didn't want other people knowing she cheated on me, maybe she shouldn't have freaking cheated on me. So I guess am I the a-hole for being honest to people about why I broke up with that girl, or should I have just acted like it was mutual? Not the a-hole. This has the vibe of, if you don't want people to know you are an a-hole, then don't be an a-hole. She made her bed. Let her lay in it. I know you are probably hurt right now, Opie. Know that with time it will heal the wounds she has caused you. I wish you positive vibes. Thank you. This happened a couple years ago, but it took me a long while to get my head right again over it and start dating again. I am curious, what was the aftermath and the reason the friends inserted themselves when it wasn't their business either? The aftermath I gather from snooping a bit shortly after the split, and what a mutual friend of ours told me, that guy thought she was single, that her deadbeat neglectful boyfriend who didn't even want her had dumped her the week of Halloween, because that's what she told him. He apparently stalked my profile about a week after the party and saw my post and ghosted my ex after that for lying to him. This is of course third-hand info. The guy never contacted me himself, so who knows how true it all is. But I trust the base info. She wanted to date the guy. The guy found out she was a cheater and ghosted her. She complained to friends and friends blew my phone up. Not the a-hole. Your ex-girlfriend cheated, and then she called you to tell you. I honestly feel it's because she wanted you to break up with her. Well, she got what she wanted, as well as everyone finding out about her actions. It's none of the friends' business, because I doubt if their significant other cheated on them, they would hold back. 100% this. Her friend/sibling don't like that the truth drags her name through the mud. Too bad. As a person who was cheated on and dumped when I was starting to catch on, then had that person defended to me when I brought up what happened? Screw him. Don't want to have your reputation tarnished by having your cheating be made public by people asking? Don't cheat. Not the a-hole. I am always 100% in favor of social consequences for unfaithful partners. Should I have just acted like it was mutual? Heck no, because it wasn't. She cheated. Feel free to fly one of those airplane banners over the city if you so wish. My girlfriend cheated! Lots of exclamation points just for fun. My ex-wife told me she needed a break. I was distraught. I was apologizing for 2 weeks saying how I wanted to work it out. She stayed at her parents', and we talked a lot that week. Come to find out, she was telling her parents she was staying with me to talk while going to this guy's house and then agreeing to go to couples therapy with me. This came out and I flipped. Told everyone. She was only ever mad I didn't keep our relationship between us. Screw that. You mean between me, you, and the guy you were banging while I was a mess for 2 weeks trying to salvage it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for disowning my eldest daughter for going after my youngest daughter's boyfriend? I'm at a loss here. I have 2 daughters, 28-year-old Madison and 23-year-old Naomi. Madison has always been a problematic child for things outside of her control. As a young girl, she's always been what people call a pick-me girl, needing to be the center of attention constantly and trying to one-up people in any way she possibly can. This started happening around age 8. She was in extensive therapy for years, and ultimately it was chalked up to abandonment issues and seeking male validation due to her father essentially wanting nothing to do with her after years of being a daddy's girl. She did come down in her teen years though, and we thought maybe therapy, both personal and family, was finally helping. She started dating a real nice guy, Tommy, around 5 years ago, but they split up back in December because he wasn't ready for marriage and she was. It destroyed her mentally though, and she started to spiral back into her old ways. Now, Naomi started dating Heath a bit over a year ago, and they started talking about marriage and babies around the same time Madison and Tommy split up. I didn't notice the signs originally, but back a month and a half ago, it became really obvious that Madison had her eyes on Naomi's boyfriend. Like whenever we would invite her for family dinners, she would ask if he was going to be there and come dressed to the max in flashy revealing clothes and flirt excessively. At this point, I told her she needed to tone it down and suggested she gets back into therapy. She informed me that she didn't mean it and that she was just finding herself again after a bad breakup, and insisted that she had no interest in Heath. We just all took her for her word. But Naomi called me in hysterics 3 nights ago and asking to come back home. We open our doors, obviously. That's when she tells us that Madison and Heath started an affair, and that Madison had been messaging Heath constantly for 2 months or so, and that she saw all the messages. I calm Naomi down, and when she gets to bed finally, I call Madison and ask her about it. She confirms and says, "It's not like I meant for this to happen. We just clicked, and I'm so happy with him. It sucks because I did hurt people in the process, but I feel I deserve some empathy here too." I was shocked. I told her she was no longer a part of this family and that she made her bed and now she will have to lay in it. Other family members are telling me I'm a bit too harsh, knowing Madison's history with mental issues, but I can't even look at her the same. I'm disgusted by her. Not the a-hole. She clearly did mean it and wanted it to happen based on her activities up to that point. I am sorry this happened to you and your younger daughter, but you made a tough choice to stand up for her. Yep. How do you accidentally have an affair? Are you saying you never tripped down a flight of stairs, and also someone else also tripped down those same stairs, and as you're rolling down said stairs, you end up in an accident sex? It's not like I meant for this to happen. Yeah, it was. She deliberately went after him because her relationship failed and her sister's was blooming, and so she got angry and went to steal her happiness. She doesn't care about you or her sister. She's the only thing that matters in her life. Honestly, she's probably not upset you disowned her, but likes the attention of playing victim. Tell other family members that they can believe what they want, but how would they feel if she had decided to target their partner, just because she couldn't stand to see someone else happy while she wasn't? This, plus at 28 she's plenty old enough to know better. If she was 15, I'd sit her down to explain things. But she's 28, old enough to know you don't sabotage her sister's relationship or sleep with her boyfriend because her own boyfriend dumped you. This is an important lesson she needs to learn, and if you let it slip, she will remain an a-hole. And Heath will learn his own lesson over the next 2 to 6 months when he realizes what is given up in order to fool around with a mentally unstable narcissist. Like, there's a very short list of the worst people to have your affair with. Your partner's parents, your partner's kids, your partner's siblings, your partner's exes, anyone in a relationship with any of those people. That's it. Roughly 10 to 50 people out of your entire town, /cities, /states, /whatever. Do not touch them. Because not only are you far more likely to get found out, but even if your partner might forgive you for cheating with a stranger, they will never forgive you for cheating with those people. Not the a-hole. And applause to you for taking a stand and supporting the daughter who did nothing wrong. Too many parents say, well, I don't want to pick sides. I love you equally, which only punishes the victim and enables the wrongdoer. I know your youngest really appreciates you having her back. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she should learn how to keep her legs closed? So I, 15 female, and my mom, 37 female, have never really had a great relationship. We have the same attitude, so us together doesn't really work out. Also, she's always getting herself into toxic relationships, which ends up affecting me and my sisters, 19 female and 9 female. A few months ago, my mom started seeing this guy Fred, 45 male. At first, he seemed like a great guy, taking my mom out, buying her flowers, chocolates, etc. I liked him. He was nice. Then 2 months ago, I found a paper in our kitchen counter. I'm not really sure what they're called, but it was basically stating that my mom was putting in her 30-day notice to leave our apartment. I asked my mom about it, and she said that Fred wants us to move in with him and his 2 kids. However, she was asking me and my younger sister if we were okay with it. I said I didn't care, and my little sister said she didn't want to. My mom didn't listen to my sister, so we ended up moving in with Fred. In the first week we moved in, Fred started to show his true colors, telling my mom what she was allowed and not allowed to do in his house. For example, no drinking in the house as he used to be an alcoholic. He didn't want my older sister visiting every day, etc., which caused a lot of arguments between them. Fast forward to today, Fred went out to run some errands and called my mom. He told her he was buying her a Princess Peach's costume for his friend's son's birthday party, which is Mario Brothers theme. My mom said there was no way she was gonna wear that, so to not even bother to buy it. He kept insisting and my mom kept saying no and hung up. He kept calling her, and my mom kept ignoring it. He kept calling and my mom picked it up and he was furious. He told her how dare she hung up on him. My mom said it's my phone and I can do what I want, and he told her, well, I bought it, which caused a huge argument. My sister's partner and sister were there at the same time. My mom told them that she has had enough of his BS and she wanted to leave. So she went to Walmart, bought boxes to put out the clothes and belongings in, called my aunt, and we packed everything and left. We moved in with my sister to their 1-bedroom apartment. I was so mad at my mom for putting us in this situation. I was already tired of my sister's partner telling me that it's their house, so I had to follow their rules for the millionth time. So I told my mom she better find us a place to live ASAP. She told me I should be grateful we had a roof over our heads, and we wouldn't be in this situation if we had told her we didn't want to move in with Fred. I was furious at that point and corrected her by saying if only she knew how to keep her legs closed and thought with reason and not lust, we wouldn't be in this situation, so stop blaming me and my sister for it. She slapped me and called me an ungrateful witch. My sister and cousins keep telling me that I crossed the line for basically calling my mom a whore. But I was tired of her blaming me and my sister for her bad decisions. So am I the a-hole for telling my mom she should learn how to keep her legs closed? So I have relatives like this, always need to be with a man/woman. They can't handle being on their own, and their children suffer. Could you have said something different? Of course. Were you wrong? No, you were not. Your mom has some self-reflecting to do, and just because someone is in their 30s doesn't mean they are a responsible adult. Best of luck to you, young lady. I too had a former friend who always had to have a man. Only difference is luckily there were no kids involved. I don't get it, because she has a college education. When she worked in insurance, she got numerous awards for the amount of insurance she sold. I used to go to her family's for Christmas, and she made a snide remark one time, referring to how long it had been since she thought I had been with someone. I let pass because I didn't want to ruin the holiday, but I was so close to saying, at least I don't settle for any Tom's hairy prick. Funny, my wife and I were talking about this recently and we're like, if we were to end our relationship after 32 years of us being together, we would be single for a long time. Not the a-hole. Facts are facts. That is why she lashed out at you. Start thinking now about building assets and money, so it'll be easier. Not easy, just easier, when you become an adult and want to distance yourself. Yes, save every penny from birthday and holiday money and from when you get a job. You won't be able to move out when you feel that you need to. And if you don't move out, use the money for college or trade school. Give your youngest sister a good role model.